Hello, and welcome back to the Market Mamas podcast. We're really glad that you guys stopped by. My name is Becky, and I'm here with Kendra. We are futures day traders from the West Coast, just over 3 years into our trading journeys. We created this podcast to have a space to offer up our constructive conversations that might help other developing traders learn, grow, and feel supported as they do for us. Because Lord knows, day trading is truly an incredibly challenging pursuit. So today, we're going to introduce you all to a book that we recently read that is thought-provoking, blunt, and powerful. It's not a trading book. Rather, it's more of a life view book. For those of you who do not prefer to hear the F word, this might not be the episode for you. Most of our videos have very rare cursing, but this one will be an exception in order to accurately convey his words and our interpretations and lessons from them. Kendra and I both really found such value in this book, so we want to give you a glimpse into its gems so you can consider it for yourself. The book is titled The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by author Mark Manson. Interestingly, this book found its way to us from a recommendation from my husband, Rob. He first read it and told me he thought Kendra and I might really like it if we gave it a try. So I tried it first and then quickly passed it on to my girl. My husband and I have quite different tastes in the content we consume normally, so I'm not going to lie, I was skeptical. But the overarching messages in this book are really good. So let us show you what we mean.
Right. So funny story. It was a Sunday morning. Becky and I had just finished up some recordings after business, was done. We had a personal check-in with each other's lives. And Becky knew I had had a sort of struggle week. I had just been overwhelmed, overstimulated, and just had worked myself into a funk. And so by the end of that week, I had wrote in my wellness journal that I really just want to stop caring about everything so much. And as I'm explaining this revelation I had to Becky and how, I was actually feeling a heck of a lot better with this new energy, she was like, OMG, girl, like everything you're describing is reminding me of this book that Rob just recommended to me and that I just started reading. And I was like, okay, like this is perfect for me. So the author Mark Manson has grown into a New York Times best-selling author for this book and his other book, Everything is Fucked, a book about hope, of which we also intend to consume. So the book we're going to discuss with you all today is so really good at challenging one's perspectives about how real happiness is actually achieved and how problems are never truly eliminated. Manson encourages readers to not strive for always positive thinking, but instead that trying to be positive is not really the gold standard. So it's just a very interesting twist and one that I really liked because I have been guilty in my life of just being a toxic positive person. And so I for sure would rather be that than a negative toxic person. However, being positive alone is just not effective in real change. So he points out all the different ways in which, and different stories that human beings are flawed, and sugarcoating it just does not do anyone any favors. So the author really frames human life in a way instead that we can embrace our fears, our faults, our uncertainties, stop running and avoiding, and then we can start confronting painful truths and begin to find the courage, perseverance, honesty, responsibility, curiosity, and forgiveness that we seek. Another main point being that we only have so many fucks to give in any given day. So we have to be selective with the allocation in order to not burn out and become miserable. This is where what my I don't need to care so much about everything statement is centered around. So if we can dial in our priorities enough so that we're only entertaining issues that are really in alignment with our values and desired life experiences and goals, then we can better reach clarity on how we should be measuring our own happiness. So it's just so good. And we're going to discuss some specific points and advice we found in this book that we can apply to our lives. And also, like every book we featured on our Market Mamas Must Read, we've certainly found great correlations to our trading businesses as well. So let's get into it.
Yes, he really is quite an interesting author for sure. And his points were really raw and ruthless, but also so refreshing. I just really enjoyed it. And I also can't wait to read his second book. So one of my favorite quotes that I noted from this book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, goes like this. Taking responsibility for our problems is far more important because that's where the real learning comes from. That's where the real life improvement comes from. To simply blame others is only to hurt yourself. This spoke to me regarding literally every aspect of my life, from my personal relationships to my physical body and health, and most definitely my trading journey. Honestly, admitting that it's my choices each day that create my life, that is so empowering. This concept in the book stuck with me since the moment I listened to it, because if we really think about it, we are the creators of our lives and our destinies. Every time I choose to love my people the very best way I know how, I am strengthening that connection and bond. Every time I choose an apple over a dish of ice cream, I'm voting for a strong and well-fueled body. Every time I play Star Wars in the backyard with my 6-year-old, instead of scrolling through social media mindlessly, I'm creating a happier and tighter family and providing my children with beautiful memories. Every time I honor my trade plan, stop loss, and take profit during my trading session, I'm respecting my time and effort as a developing trader and earning the title I am working towards as a consistently profitable trader. My choices create my outcome. This blunt ownership of my life is a force in my mind right now, especially after the book reinforces this topic. And I kind of always want to keep that message in the forefront of my mind every day. Blaming others, blaming the market, whatever stressors are happening around me at a given time. Like, blaming might provide a temporary acceptable excuse, but truthfully, that will only prevent my bigger goals from ever becoming my reality. Instead, owning and improving my daily choices, despite whatever pressure, is where the true growth comes from. It's a good point.
Yes, Becky, that's right. I'm so glad that that point really stuck out to you. I love when we get those aha moments from the books like this one. I fully believe in that. When you are fully consumed in designing and refining your own life's purpose and choosing how you want to live it on your own terms, you just no longer have that space to blame others. And then it just becomes wasted energy, and it's nothing of value to building your future self. So for sure, the side effects of taking full ownership and accountability is very empowering. This next concept from the book really resonated with me, and Mark refers to it as the feedback loop from hell. So he explains how modern society, and especially social media, has conditioned us that it's not okay to have negative feelings and experiences. Things like anxiety, guilt, they're just not okay. And this has resulted in people being overly stressed, overly neurotic, and overly self-loathing. He adds that it's like it's impossible to feel like shit for 5 minutes without feeling like something's wrong with you. So we feel bad about feeling bad. We feel guilty about feeling guilty. We get angry about getting angry, anxious about being anxious. I can 100% relate to this. The author, Mark, he makes a great point stating that the desire for more positive experience is itself a negative experience. And paradoxically, the acceptance of one's negative experience is itself a positive experience. So put another way, because that's kind of a lot to process. Basically, whatever you're feeling or chasing, or desperately trying to achieve more of, it can lead to the opposite result. So pursuing happiness actually makes you unhappy, and pursuing pain results in less pain. And I swear, I feel this in my soul, especially when it comes to trading. As I mentioned, I have a toxic positive tendencies, and my instincts are to fight off any negative vibes or energy and then uphold this positive, optimistic feeling. However, that doesn't actually serve me or help me to learn from my results in a constructive way. So if there's a storm, then there's a storm, and that's nature, and all we can do is let it pass. When I have a frustrating day on the charts, it's 100% okay to feel shitty about it, disappointed, like a literal loser at times for my outcome. And just accepting that negative experience really has helped me to not let it grow into something that feels bigger than me, ironically enough.
Right. It's like counterintuitive when you start getting into this book, because you have to be like, wait, what? I thought I was supposed to like let it go and be positive. But he really like gets into it and explains more. So it's a nice take on something that we all experience. This next quote actually is super blunt, and I love it so much. It reads, "You are already choosing in every moment of every day what to give a fuck about. So change is as simple as choosing to give a fuck about something else. It really is that simple. It's just not easy." Okay, so he's not wrong. It's blunt, sure, but accurate. Jermaine, my mentor, repeatedly reinforces this in quite a bit of a different energy and vibe, but to the same end. It's powerful to be purposeful with where we allow our energy to be spent. We can't just give a fuck about every little thing, or we will exhaust ourselves. And on the areas that truly matter in our lives and our goals, those might be half-assed when we give away so much of our energy to BS each day instead. For example, every once in a while, and thankfully way less now that I'm maturing, I've gotten into a heated argument on social media platform over a topic that I do care about and have strong feelings regarding. But to what end? It's ultimately a completely useless donation of energy, emotion, time, and mental capacity. Those types of battles suck you dry. And then how was the rest of your day? I know when I have done this, I am crabbier with my real life people because that irritated energy, it carries over, and I'm too distracted coming up with retorts for my battle to create productive work results. It's a waste upon a waste by giving a fuck in that direction. There's so many examples beyond that of ways to waste our time and energy. You all know what I mean. This will be a little different for each of us with what we could potentially steal our energy away from our bigger aims, but we know it when it happens, or at least in hindsight, just later that night when we recognize how we totally gave away that day for nothing. For me, it's a gross feeling. It's awful. And so I just love his point, so frankly written, that if we simply only give a fuck about what serves our biggest priorities and not all the little shit, then what we feed will grow. It is not easy to always be consistent with this, but shifting our ways of life to be more in sync with this idea will yield more productive work and strengthen the relationships that we pour into over time.
Hell yeah. Things like, I love that you gave that example. I feel like things like news and social media, they're just designed to really pull us in and trick us into thinking things actually matter to us. Sure, everything matters on some level, but if you're not actively involved in a specific cause or engaging with someone who is, then it's like, why? Most people just want to show off they know more than another person. So I like to believe that wise people understand that what they know is relative, and you learn more when you accept that you don't really know much at all, generally speaking anyways. The next concept in Mark's book is really valid too. He drives home the point about how problems never stop. They merely get exchanged or upgraded. So true. Problems never are fully eliminated or taken off the table. The public figure who we look up to and admire has mega problems. Even that cute little baby, like Becky has, completely loved and well taken care of, has little baby problems. So problems are just what makes the world go around, and it's what gives it deeper meaning in life. So in my opinion, I also like how Mark added, true happiness only occurs when you find the problems you enjoy having and enjoy solving. And this is a constant work in progress. So for me, I love being a problem solver. I like the challenge, and without problems, life would be boring. And perhaps that's one of the reasons why I fell in love with trading. Leaning into problems instead of running away from them builds courage and confidence. Before I forget, I also wanted to share that when I was reading this book many times, it really reminded me of Goggins' mentality, right? Like his school of thought. It was presented in obviously a completely different approach and style, but very similar to that, no victim mentality, no excuses, let's go get to work type of mindset. Do you agree, Becky?
I totally agree. I think that both of them were talking like a don't put your problems anywhere else. Like you own yourself, your body, your mind, your actions, your intentions, your goals, and what you do to get yourself there. And so they totally both are like, you want to get it. And if you don't want it that bad, then that's a choice. So I totally agree. It's well traded. Okay. So I don't think I've ever quite heard this next part in a way that this author Manson wrote it. But when I heard his words, they were really powerful for me. So the quote I pulled is this: it's worth remembering that for any change to happen in your life, you must be wrong about something. If you're sitting there miserable day after day, then that means you're already wrong about something major in your life. And until you're able to question yourself to find it, nothing will change. So good, right? It's very similar to Goggins too, but it's worded so nicely. I have to relate this to my trading journey. Obviously, early in a trading journey, many people, myself included, may experience a boom and bust cycle, a period of consistent wins and then a blow up phase where you give away all your progress and money by failing to respect your system, risk management, your personal conditions, whatever it might be that derails the trader. that can result in a miserable feeling of disappointment and frustration. But in his quote, he's clear that identifying that something is wrong in your life that is causing you misery means you require a change to the situation. You are wrong in however you are managing the thing that is making you so unhappy and resulted in failed attempts. A way out of that, per this book, is to question why and then target fixing it with eyes wide open. Like Kendra said, you've identified a problem, so let's get to work. You take responsibility for what you are doing wrong. You make a plan to fix it, and then you just fucking do it. You do your fucking plan. If you're allowing tilt to wreck your progress as a trader, then create a hard plan to manage it and respect yourself and your goals enough to follow it. He's right when he says nothing will change if you don't face what is wrong. And I love that pure fact that we are the owners of our actions. That can feel stressful or empowering, depending on how you look at it. I want the growth, so I find it incredibly empowering, albeit it's not always easy in real time, but so worth it.
Is if you want something different, you got to do something different. There's just no change fairy that's flying around fixing people, unfortunately. I like how Mark mentioned that people can sometimes fall into these two categories. Either a state of denial of the reality of their problems that usually just leads to distractions, or being the victim of their problems and believing that there's just nothing that they can do to solve their problems. Both of those are kind of like on the opposite ends of the avoidance spectrum, actually, and they only feel good temporarily. So both of those approaches are really making a choice to stay stuck instead of doing the work to grow out of them. And this is why people have generational curses within their families that have yet to be broken. So let's avoid avoidance for sure. And the other aspect of the book I really enjoyed was when he talked about emotions and was very frank about how much emotion sucks. And if I'm being honest, I agree. And I think collectively, they are our most beautiful and profoundly annoying human characteristic, or flaw even. So I appreciated the following insights that Mark imparted in regards to emotions. He said, emotions are overrated. They never last. Whatever makes us happy today will no longer make us happy tomorrow, because our biology always needs something more. So you will always be in pursuit of something else. However, after all that, we end up feeling eerily similar to how we started, inadequate. I feel it. It's true. Everything is temporary and feelings are so fleeting. Most adults have experienced this, I'm sure. What I have never heard before is a psychology theory called the hedonic treadmill. And that really supports Mark's stance on emotions. So the idea of this is that an individual's level of happiness after rising or falling in response to a positive or negative life events ultimately tends to move back toward where it was prior to these experiences. So ironically, we're always working hard to change our life situation, but we never really feel any different. And that's kind of somber, right? But it's also kind of a relief, especially if you are experiencing a particularly difficult season of life. There's comfort in knowing that eventually you will reset to a stable baseline. So I don't know, really applies to trading too. I feel like be grateful for the clean and green days and just ride out the red ones, and then just reset to neutral, not allowing any one major swing high or major swing low make or break you.
Right. I think he really reframes emotions in a powerful way that no one else really says. And so that's kind of a cool opportunity for us to see a different perspective on it. So that's good points. Okay. So I have got an analogy for us now from this book. It is, just as one must suffer physical pain to build stronger bone and muscle, one must suffer emotional pain to develop greater emotional resilience. If this isn't just pure fact, I don't know what is. So if you exercise, you get it with the physical pain when you grow stronger. Some workouts are super hard. And I swear my trainer, Amy, likes to hit us extra hard on our Monday sessions because of general weekend activities. But when you are deep in a set of heavy squats and you really want to stop before the rep, pushing through that pain, it does cause bigger improvement in your body over time, your stamina, your muscle size, your strength and resilience. So that is a tangible example of the physical resilience side of this. Cultivating emotional resilience is not as objective and clear cut, but I took from what he wrote that if I can sit through something that feels really hard, but that I understand to be the correct way to do something, then every time I endure the pressures of that situation, then each subsequent time might be slightly easier on me to sit through, thereby strengthening me in those situations over time. So an example for me being holding my trades a little longer. I am a scalper at heart for sure. I love a 5-minute trade straight to my target in the first half hour of market open. Those are my favorite. But many times I do sell myself short in these moves, especially if I've waited for the best move opportunity of the morning. I have seen time and time again that I can and need to start adding just one more contract in my best setups and then begin to hold a runner to a farther target. This holding an open position longer, though, it makes me so nervous. And I know that I'm showing my youth as a trader here, but it's where I'm at. And when I hold a trade longer, I feel vulnerable in that situation, nervous that it won't get there right away, or if it takes a half an hour and there's a reasonable pullback that I might have to hold through. I hate seeing my points rise and then fall without being locked in. But I have seen the evidence that if I could do this on my best setups, it will provide a greater long-term P&L outcome. This is one example that I know I could work through the pain to develop the greater emotional resilience for my life and for my business as a trader.
Yes, Market Mama Becky. No, that's like
Real talk.
a solid example, girl. Like, I love it. Let's go. Building that muscle to hold, it completely takes a greater emotional resilience and accepting that it can also completely turn around and all be for nothing, at least P&L wise, because, we don't know what we don't know. And in our case, we never know until it's played out on the charts, and holding or not both require that belief in something that we just haven't seen yet. But that is the beauty and burden, really, of trading. So I love that you brought that up and we're talking about this. Completely relate. Just Friday, I literally coached myself pre-market before I even got out of bed, telling myself the types of trades that you see that you're trying to only select. Your best setups usually take longer. And then fast forward to my trading session, I did have to hold and endure a pullback that went all the way back down 2 points from my entry after being up at least 3/4 of the way to my profit target. And it did take 20 full minutes to hold from entry to exit. So, after that pullback, after that pullback and continuation resumed, I literally had to leave my screen and go do sit-ups to keep myself from overmanaging and just trust that we could get a higher high. So I love how we're making these connections, really, and not shy about discussing our growing pains. Author Mark asks these two really heavy questions in the chapter, Choose Your Struggle. They are, what pain do you want in your life? What are you willing to struggle for? So for me, these questions really help as I work in building better emotion regulation within my trading, because I am choosing a painful pursuit. And I am willing to struggle through all the stormy seasons. There's another example of embodying this willingness to choose when he gives us an example, running a marathon, and under two different scenarios, really. So he asks us to imagine someone comes and puts a gun up to your head and says you have to run 26.2 miles in under 5 hours or they're going to kill you and your family. Pretty extreme, right? On the contrary, imagine you bought really nice shoes, running gear, you trained religiously for months and completed your first marathon with all your closest friends and family cheering you on at the finish line. So it could potentially be one of the proudest moments of your life. He points out that both instances have the same amount of miles, the same pain, the same person, same legs, but when it was chosen freely and prepared for, it was a glorious, important milestone in your life. When it was forced upon you against your will, it was one of the most painful and horrifying experiences of your life. Often the only difference between a problem being painful or powerful is a sense that we choose it and that we are responsible for it. So I told Becky how much I loved that he used that example because I'm choosing this painful race of 26.2 miles on October 6th. So if y'all can please set a reminder on your phones, calendars, say a prayer for me at 6 a.m. that morning, because I will very much appreciate that, because I know it will be potentially powerful and proud moment, but it's going to hurt like hell. and extremely painful. So I can say with full confidence that trading and running, those are two pains that I want in my life, and I'm willing to struggle for them.
Yes, girl, get it. You're going to do great. I'm so excited for you. All right, you guys. This next quote from Manson spoke directly to the trader in me. Let me show you. It reads, "You don't know anything. Even when you do, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. But really, what is there to lose? Life is about not knowing and then doing something anyway." This is so trading. Even when you study for years and learn from strong mentors, Miss Market is in charge, and she always will be. As traders, we can have an edge, learn and utilize helpful tools and techniques, and develop a trader's intuition. Those are all important to success in trading. But ultimately, we know nothing. We could be totally fucking wrong, and the market does something completely different and humbles us again. But fuck it. Trying, despite that fact, is what life is about, for us at least. So we might fail. So our trade plan might be proved wrong, and our accounts will take a small hit for the day. If you never try because there's no certainty, then you lose by default. So fucking go for it anyways. I just love that sentence. Life is about not knowing and then doing something anyway. Taking chances to see what is possible, what you can do if you really try. Opportunities we can discover by saying fuck it to the statistics that say we are more likely to fail in day trading and pushing towards our success anyways. Because people do significantly successful outcomes as profitable day traders. That happens. It has been proven possible. So no, we don't get to know if that will be us, but it sure as fuck won't if we quit.
Right. Oh my goodness. Yes, say it. It's so much better to think in terms of best case scenarios. What if things actually work out? And you can always fix something anyways that falls apart. I think Eddie Pinero talked about this. Or go back to a previous state if whatever you moved on to isn't for you. But you can never move up and out if you don't take those actionable steps. So I really believe that we have nothing to lose. I have nothing to lose. That mentality is solid. And what's for me is going to be for me. Also, there's another concept called the self-awareness onion that Mark mentions in the book. And I wanted to highlight the third level of this being personal values, which is the most important to understand why and how you are choosing to measure your success or failure. By what standard am I judging myself and everyone around me? So this is extremely important because our values determine the nature of our problems, and the nature of our problems determine our quality of lives. So if you never do the work to answer those deep questions, then you will feel totally out of whack, and you'll never really achieve that deeper knowledge and understanding of your own values. And unfortunately, much self-help advice out there, it really just operates on a shallow level of just trying to make people feel good in the short term, while the long-term problems never get solved. So chasing more highs instead of asking the more difficult questions. Mark shares his belief that the more uncomfortable the answers, the more likely they are to be true. So when you combine the value that you hold and then you test that against the metric you use, then that's what determines how you feel as a success or as a failure. So we ask us more questions like, is there a better metric? Is there a better way to measure so you can choose to react better, even if you can't eliminate the problem? Is what you think is a problem even a legitimate problem for you? So a more simplified way that this resonated for me is just being mindful of comparison or conventional standards of society that may be influencing how I view my personal success or failures. Mark really touched on the reality that most people are average in all things in life. If you manage to reach a high, extreme level of excellence in one area of life, it's very unlikely that you will also have greatness in others. A lot of extremely successful people in business have super messed up personal lives. So for me, the correlation to trading is similar to how we've came to terms with losing a big part of that average good at all things as we have worked to become extremely successful in trading. It's only reasonable being one person. If I'm dedicating a huge amount of energy, time, and resources to this one pursuit, I don't have the time or even interest really to entertain a lot of other things that I may have previously been entertained by. So not accepting that aspect can really make the whole thing feel miserable at times. I also really related to when he talked about the difficult questions and uncomfortable answers. One of my one of my self-growth goals this year has been to challenge myself to have more difficult conversations. Being the natural uplifter that I am, it is a challenge because I like people to feel good. However, I don't really like small talk, and there's way more value and impact if you can go below the surface level.
Right. That's a great personal goal. I mean, I think a lot of people shy away from those critical conversations just to keep the peace. So it's an important growth part of our lives that we can strive for, and that will have a positive impact if we approach it the right way. So great message. This book ends with a discussion about the inevitability of death, and his realizations on this topic really tied it all together really well. In the last chapter, Manson said, people high on a sense of false superiority fall into inaction and lethargy for fear of trying something worthwhile and failing at it. The pampering of the modern mind has resulted in a population that feels deserving of something without earning that something. The population that feels they have a right to something without sacrificing for it. So that's a big, little bit aggressive quote. But he goes on to explain that people can feel such an urgency to claim something great, to feel extraordinary, to know that their individual period of life on earth has created something to live on after their death. But that we often confuse great attention with great success. Like, what you have done in your life is worth less if you don't achieve a public title or something, if you don't get your name on a building or create an endowment somewhere. But I love how he puts it, that you are great already, no matter who else recognizes it. Titles don't make us great. What we choose to give our fucks about each day is what really matters. Your life, no matter what you achieve, is a gift to your circle. Manson encourages readers to let go of our egos and take pleasure in the day-to-day and to pursue our dreams with less shame and inhibition. There is nothing to be afraid of. Instead of seeking titles and specific dollar amounts, what if you just sought to live by example, a life of pouring all our energy into the meaningful and loving pursuits that you love? In this way, we would seek to do the right things for who and what is most worth our fucks, our effort. It makes so much sense for both a happier life, but also a productive life in our own arenas. With trading and podcasting, Kendra and I are far from leading the pack yet in those arenas. But our work is strong and beautiful, and we exude maximum energy to the goals that we truly give into and love, and then we'll fulfill our lives and those directly around us. And so we still are quite a ways from our metrics within our goals in both of these journeys, which is awesome because we have so much potential. And so now we can purposefully direct our efforts at our dreams and be happy in their pursuit. That is a healthy whole life. And so I just love this book. It used so many blunt and harsh anecdotes at a time, but he rounds it all out and makes such a truly beautiful and influential point. Like, where you send your fucks is the life that you create. It's like the core message of this book, and it's really kind of an awesome message.
It really is. I love how you brought that full circle. And yeah, it's interesting how when you hear the title of the book, when you hear some of his kind of brash, harsh, examples and language, but then the fact that we got so much positivity out of it. So it's just real. It's keeping it real for sure. And thank you, Rob. Shout out to you for the recommendation. One more quote from me before we send everyone home. Everything comes with an inherent sacrifice. Whatever makes us feel good will inevitably make us feel bad. What creates our positive experiences will define our negative experiences. So let's all embrace the pain and pleasure of this crazy journey of life we're all on together. Shout out to our international viewers. Also, we are here on this amazing miracle of a planet living together. And it's just great that we had this discussion today. And please show us some love in the comments. We have the Audible and Amazon affiliate links listed in the description, so you can all get this awesome title as well. Check out our various social media platforms as well, and subscribe to our channel, please. We will be back next week with another great discussion. And as always, our best trading days are ahead. Take care.
Take care.